Breaking down the chances for the Noles to land Javian Osborne, class of 2026 big-time running back.
You are Locked On Seminoles, your daily podcast on the Florida State Seminoles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back into Locked On Seminoles. I am your host, Brian Smith, longtime college football recruiting analyst and writer. Thank you for making Locked On Seminoles your first listen each and every day. Truly appreciate you stopping in to talk some Noles with me. Today, I just finished up the last Under Armour All-American practice, and I wanted to interview Javian Osborne. Keep in mind, I did not know where Florida State came in on his list. Out of all the players there, this was the guy that I wanted to ask questions about because I'd seen film of him, and I wanted to know about him. He breaks down his recruitment, including how Mike Norvell and the Noles are recruiting. Again, a little bit of a surprise for me. I wasn't aware. And we're also going to talk about recruiting in 2026 a little bit and use Javian as part of that. And finally, some of the stuff that's going on with the college football playoff, including the ridiculous situation with the Sugar Bowl, Georgia, and Notre Dame. That game's being postponed. I've got my thoughts on that as well to wrap up today's show. But first, let's talk about Osborne. Who is he? Why is he important? What's the connection with Florida State? All of that in one big bag. So he's just under 5'10", 190 pounds, really powerful running back. The way he's built, you would look at him as kind of, I'm not saying he's on the same level, obviously, but Emmitt Smith or Barry Sanders, somebody like that, powerful legs, really shifty in space. Quite frankly, it's hard to get a clean shot on this young man. Osborne is the kind of player that will make the first guy miss, spin off another one, and then jump cut somebody else. Like, he is the all-around difficult running back to bring down one-on-one. And in today's spread offenses, it's hard to find guys that can do all those things in any way, shape, or form, let alone in a single play. So when I was interviewing him after practice today, I had, again, no idea where he was going to go. Some of the schools were brought up: Michigan, Texas A&M. He mentioned Florida State was definitely in on him, Notre Dame, some too. And, I kind of went through some of his talking points with some of the schools. And I said, what's the deal with Florida State? Because they don't normally get a ton of kids from Texas, but they've always gotten like one or two here or there. And I said, Norvell is from Texas. Like, what's going on with that? And he said, yeah, Norvell is one of the guys recruiting me. He'll hit me up during the week, text me each week, et cetera, et cetera. I got a lot of respect for him. I like him a lot. And I'm like, okay, now, once you hear that, you're at least in the hunt. This is early because this is a class of 26 kid, but he's an elite player. And I was like, okay, so what else is going? He said Chris Thompson, tight end coach, is in contact with him, other guys on the staff. And I'm like, okay, Florida State's got a chance here. He's already been to campus before. Florida State definitely is in the hunt. And to put it in perspective, he's number 75 in the nation by Rivals, 121st by 24/7. ESPN's got him 68th overall. Like, this is a national recruit. There's really nobody that he doesn't have an offer from. And he's open-minded. Very well-spoken young man. Fits the profile of what, quite frankly, anybody would want on their roster. Team player, just wants to get better. He had nearly 40 touchdowns as a sophomore, 2,000-plus yards, all that. This year wasn't quite as good, but he lost all 5 of his linemen going into his junior season. And I just really think that it just shows you a couple of things about recruiting. I went into it because I knew he was a Dallas area kid. He plays at Forney High School, it's Greater Dallas. Then I was like, okay, he's probably not going to mention Florida State, but I'm just really curious about him, so I'm going to interview this kid. You never know. You have contacts that have Dallas area information. They come after a kid. Doesn't matter where the school is from. Players pick coaches more than they pick schools. You probably, if you've listened to this podcast, you've heard me talk about that numerous times. As it relates to Javian Osborne, that's exactly what happened. He likes the fact that multiple guys that are coaching for the Noles have Texas ties, especially North Texas ties, and he also likes that they're consistent with their communication. You got those two things, you can get in the hunt. As for what he's looking for, I think he's just looking for comfort based on our conversation. I didn't go too deep into it with him. We're just getting started. Like, this isn't like Notre Dame's trying to get him up for a junior day. Well, so is everybody else. Michigan's all over him. Coach Alford from Michigan, running back coach guy, I know that he's all over him. Everybody is. It's going to come down to little things with him. if Florida State's going to make that ascension that I've talked about so many times on this podcast in recruiting, these are the kinds of recruitments that some way, shape, or form Bobby Bowden and his staff would find to win far more often than other staffs did. It's hard to go into Texas and get kids away from the Aggies and the Longhorns alone. Add Michigan and Notre Dame into the mix among numerous others, like Alabama as a school he's visited, etc. It's pretty tough sledding. You got to find a way to do it. They began to build the relationships. They've went out of their way to recruit a kid from Dallas for a long time already. They've had him on campus already. Got a new offense and stuff to show him. Let's see if Osborne makes another trek to Tallahassee in the spring or and where else he goes. Does he visit Notre Dame? Does he visit Michigan? Does he take a Midwest wing? You can look into all those things, but these are the kinds of recruitments that I'm personally going to learn more from as a recruiting analyst than a kid that's from Tampa or Daytona or something. Those are easier trips. If it's less than 4-hour drive, it's not that big a deal for a lot of these kids to get there. Even up to like a 6-hour drive, like a kid from Sarasota or something, they can make it to Tallahassee for a few hours. And if they wanted, they could go back and be home late at night. It's different for a Texas kid. So I see some good signs with this staff, putting in effort. And now it's about getting him back on campus. For those that are curious, based on all the running backs I've watched for the class of 26, conservatively, Osborne is top 3 for me. I would take him over anybody else because I think his versatility is there. But it just depends on what kind of offense you want to run. For what Gus does, I think they would use him in a variety of ways. He can definitely be a between the tackles guy, but you could throw him the football. You could make him a punt returner. You could make him the guy that is the jet sweep motion guy. When you have a versatile player like an Osborne and you're running the football the way that Gus likes to, especially with RPO, he's a nightmare. Because on any given play, you don't know where he's necessarily going to begin pre-snap and where he's going to end before the ball is even in the quarterback's hands. That's not much fun as a defense. I think those guys are a pain to deal with. And to be honest with you, I think that adds value to them that goes beyond the film, the personality, and all that. And believe me, Osborne is elite and all across the board. Great young man. But in today's college football world, the offenses that are being utilized, and one I think is going to be employed at Florida State, fits him to a T. So we'll see where the Noles go with that. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about the college football playoffs, some of the things that are going on, and the ridiculousness with what happened in New Orleans yesterday. That's next on Locked On Seminoles. Attending the new 12-team college football playoff is an incredible experience, and it brings fans together like never before. I remember the excitement from all the other past playoff games, and I can't wait to make new memories with the updated format and extra teams involved. Gametime has a new feature called Gametime Picks that makes getting tickets for events even easier, like the college football playoff. Filters out all the fluff so you get the incredible deals on the great seats that you want for less money. So you don't have to waste as much time looking around either. That's something I really like. Recently, Gametime Picks found a way to help with a lot of upcoming games. All you got to do is click on the tab inside the app. Again, it's going to help you filter out everything. Browsing through the deals is a breeze, and you're going to find great value on all kinds of seats, no matter what it is you're looking for. College football playoff, NBA, it could be soccer, it could be hockey, it could be anything. It could even be just going to a movie theater. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. This show is also brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in the regular season action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can finish the season with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. FanDuel also has many ways for you to pick up the W, like betting on which players will score a touchdown or how many points each team will score. It's thrilling. Other things that you can do, you can come up with individual props like yardage for a receiver, touchdowns for a running back or a quarterback, whatever it is you want to do. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. The college football playoffs have been a little bit wild so far, and I just want to make a few comments and a few things that may not surprise some people, but then finish with the ridiculousness that I hinted at a few minutes ago in regards to the Sugar Bowl being postponed. Number one, I think some of the play, it just shows you how hard it is and how some of these young men stress. We put a lot of pressure on players, whether it's Florida State or any other school, pro teams to deliver in the clutch. We got to remember that these are college players. I'll give you an example of why I bring that up. The quarterback at SMU is a pretty good player, but this was the first time that he was really a starter this season. And when he went to Happy Valley, in my opinion, he was overwhelmed. Last night, Penn State, ironically, was playing again. And for the most part, the first 5 minutes of the game, it looked like this was going to be a whitewashing. You just don't know how teams are going to start a game sometimes. They get really fast. Sometimes teams start really slow. Well, it was 14-0 pretty quick. And I'm like, man, this could be 42-10. This is going to suck. Then Boise fought back. You just don't know in college athletics. In the playoff, excuse me, it just makes it even better because there's more pressure. You get to see what the resolve of people is really like. If that play for Boise ends up being a touchdown and it doesn't get called back, for those of you who didn't see it, guy makes a guy miss. He falls into the end zone, scores, but there's a hands to the face call on Boise State. And it was justified. It was a legit call. That doesn't happen. It's like a 3-point game. And then all of a sudden, you never know. But they didn't get that. Then they missed a field goal. Sometimes the pressure is too big. Guys make a play, but somebody else, your teammate, doesn't. And in a team sport, you suffer the consequences there. It's just wild. You never know what's going to happen in these games. Maybe somebody ends up having a playoff upset. I'm watching a little bit of the game between Texas and Arizona State here, got it in the background. I don't think Arizona State's going to win, but I was rooting for them. But you just never know with college athletics, and that's why we watch. It's like the NFL is a little more predictable. You kind of see what's coming. There's more information about them. They're older players. It's a little more consistency. Let's not forget that college is the unpredictable of all sports, meaning college football. As for the Sugar Bowl getting postponed, it's a reminder that our society can be whack sometimes. If you haven't heard, there was somebody late last night around 3:15 in the morning, New Orleans time, that ran into a crowd on Bourbon Street, killed some people, injured some people. One of the Georgia students that was down at the Sugar Bowl to see the Dogs play, the Irish, was injured. It shows you that sports sometimes can be meaningless in comparison to the game of life. And it's really unfortunate that a tragedy like that happened. And in the interest of public safety, the game is now going to be moved, at least theoretically, till tomorrow. We'll see what happens. I certainly don't have any insight on it, but I'm hoping that everybody can be safe. I don't know what you can do after something like that. And I don't even know how the police and Homeland Security, et cetera, go in to do something. I don't know if he's part of a terrorist organization, if it's just some wacko. But remember, when you're in a public space, especially like New Orleans, and I've been there many times, you got to be careful where you're at. As a fan, you're there to have fun, but you got to know your surroundings and try to be safe in everything you do, sporting event or otherwise. And during the holiday season, I'm in Orlando right now. I know how unsafe it can be with drunk drivers, et cetera. It's a reminder to each of you, the people around you, your loved ones in particular, your friends and family, they're valuable assets above all else. Do them respect, do yourself respect, and know who's in your area to the best of your ability. So with that, I will let you all get back to what you're doing. Thank you once again for making Locked On Seminoles your first listen each and every day. Going to be talking more recruiting as the week goes on. We got the Under Armour All-American game on Thursday in the evening. Apparently, we're going to have the Florida State or the Sugar Bowl tomorrow night too at Georgia Notre Dame. Might talk a little bit about that. But everybody be safe. Enjoy the rest of your time today, and thank you very much.